5 signs the relationship is becoming one-sided. You're doing all the work in your relationship. You're planning everything, initiating everything, fixing everything, caring about everything, while your partner just shows up, or doesn't. You're exhausted, resentful, and starting to wonder if you're in a relationship or a one-person show. If you feel like you're the only one trying, you're probably right, and it's destroying your relationship and your self-respect. By the end of this video, you'll know the 5 signs your relationship has become one-sided, and why your partner isn't going to suddenly start trying harder. Sign 1. You're always the one initiating everything. In healthy relationships, both partners initiate connection, plans, affection, and communication relatively equally. In one-sided relationships, one person does all the initiating while the other person passively receives. If you're always the one texting first, making plans, starting conversations, initiating sex, reaching out, and your partner never initiates anything, you're in a one-sided relationship. Look at your communication patterns. You always text or call first. You initiate every conversation, they never reach out first. You send messages throughout the day, they respond but never initiate. When you test this by not initiating, you hear nothing. Days or weeks pass in silence. People who care about you want to connect with you. They don't wait for you to always come to them. Initiation shows investment. Lack of initiation shows lack of investment. Notice who makes all the plans. Every date, every activity, every outing, you planned it. If you don't plan something, nothing happens. You just sit home. They say, "I don't care, you choose," about everything, putting all decision-making and planning labor on you. You stop planning for a month to see what happens, and nothing happens, because they never step up. Partners who value the relationship contribute to creating experiences together. Watch who initiates physical connection. You're the one who initiates sex, kissing, cuddling, hand-holding. They never do. If you don't initiate physical connection, there is none. They accept what you initiate, but never reciprocate the effort. Sexual and physical initiation should be relatively mutual. One-directional initiation signals unequal desire. And see who starts important conversations. Any talk about the relationship, problems, the future, you bring it up. They never proactively address issues or check in on the relationship. You're doing all the emotional labor of maintaining relationship health. If you stopped initiating important conversations, issues would never be addressed because they don't care enough to bring them up. Why are you missing this? You've accepted being the planner or initiator as your role. You tell yourself they're just not good at planning or they're shy about initiating. You rationalize that you like being in control anyway. But you're normalizing doing all the work because acknowledging imbalance is painful. Jessica realized one day that she couldn't remember the last time her boyfriend had planned anything. Every date, every trip, every weekend activity, she'd planned it all. When she asked him what he wanted to do, he'd say, "Whatever you want, babe." At first, Jessica liked being in control, but after 2 years, she was exhausted. She also realized she always texted first. She always initiated sex. She always brought up relationship conversations. One month, Jessica decided to stop initiating anything to see what would happen. Nothing happened. No plans, no texts, no physical intimacy. After 3 weeks of silence, Jessica reached out. Her boyfriend said, "Oh, I was just waiting for you to say what you wanted to do." Jessica realized he wasn't waiting. He just wasn't interested in trying. She was in a one-person relationship with an audience of one. So stop initiating temporarily and test what happens when you don't do all the work. Track the imbalance. Count who initiates what over 2 weeks. The data won't lie. Address it directly. "I've noticed I initiate everything. I need you to show equal effort." Watch if anything changes. Does your partner step up, or do they get defensive and continue not trying? Don't stay in one-sided patterns. If nothing changes after you address it, they're choosing not to invest equally. Why are you missing this? You've accepted being the planner or initiator as your role. You tell yourself they're just not good at planning or they're shy about initiating. You rationalize that you like being in control anyway. But you're normalizing doing all the work because acknowledging imbalance is painful. Jessica realized one day that she couldn't remember the last time her boyfriend had planned anything. Every date, every trip, every weekend activity, she'd planned it all. When she asked him what he wanted to do, he'd say, "Whatever you want, babe." At first, Jessica liked being in control, but after 2 years, she was exhausted. She also realized she always texted first. She always initiated sex. She always brought up relationship conversations. One month, Jessica decided to stop initiating anything to see what would happen. Nothing happened. No plans, no texts, no physical intimacy. After 3 weeks of silence, Jessica reached out. Her boyfriend said, "Oh, I was just waiting for you to say what you wanted to do." Jessica realized he wasn't waiting. He just wasn't interested in trying. She was in a one-person relationship with an audience of one. So stop initiating temporarily and test what happens when you don't do all the work. Track the imbalance. Count who initiates what over 2 weeks. The data won't lie. Address it directly. "I've noticed I initiate everything. I need you to show equal effort." Watch if anything changes. Does your partner step up, or do they get defensive and continue not trying? Don't stay in one-sided patterns. If nothing changes after you address it, they're choosing not to invest equally. Sign 2. Your partner shows up for you only when it's convenient. Partners show up for each other through inconvenience, difficulty, and sacrifice. In one-sided relationships, one partner shows up consistently while the other partner shows up only when it's easy, convenient, or beneficial to them. If your partner is there for good times but disappears during hard times, supports you when it doesn't cost them anything, but is absent when you actually need them, your relationship is one-sided. Watch what happens during your hard times. When you're going through something difficult, they're not there. They make excuses, minimize your problems, or get uncomfortable and pull away. You can't count on them when you actually need support. Partners show their true character during hardship. Absence during difficulty reveals they're only there for fun. Notice if they only participate when it benefits them. They show up to things that interest them or where they'll have fun. When you need them to do something boring, difficult, or just for you, they're suddenly unavailable. They attend your work event if it's interesting, but skip your family obligation. Your parent is sick and you need support, they're too busy, but somehow available for every activity they want to do. Relationships require showing up for things that aren't fun. If they only show up for fun, they're not invested. And look at the direction of support. You attend their events, support their career, help their family, sacrifice for their goals. When you need equivalent support, they're not there, or they do the bare minimum. The support in the relationship flows one direction, toward them. Mutual support means both partners sacrificing and showing up for each other's lives. And watch their reliability when you need them. They commit to being there, then cancel or don't show up. They forget things that are important to you. You can't depend on them. They're present only when it's convenient. When someone is unreliable, it's because you're not a priority. Priorities get shown up for. Why are you missing this? You make excuses for them. They're busy, they're stressed, they're not good at emotional support. You've lowered your expectations to avoid disappointment. You tell yourself, at least they show up sometimes. But you've accepted crumbs of effort because you're afraid of admitting they don't actually care that much. Marcus noticed a pattern. When he got a promotion, his girlfriend was happy to celebrate. When his father had a heart attack and Marcus was devastated, his girlfriend said she was not good with hospitals and barely checked in. When Marcus needed help moving, his girlfriend was suddenly busy. But when his girlfriend needed anything, support for her work stress, help with her projects, company at family events, Marcus showed up every time. Marcus attended every event important to his girlfriend. His girlfriend attended his events only if they sounded fun. When Marcus's car broke down and he needed a ride at 6 a.m. to work for a week,
His girlfriend said that was too early, but called him the next week to pick him up from the airport at midnight. Marcus realized the relationship was one-sided. He showed up for her through inconvenience and sacrifice. She showed up for him only when convenient. So notice the pattern. Are they there during hard times or only good times? Test reliability. Ask for support when it's inconvenient. Do they show up? Track reciprocity. Are you supporting them more than they support you? Address the imbalance. I show up for you consistently. I need you to show up equally. And walk away if nothing changes. Don't stay with someone who only loves you when it's easy.
Sign 3. You're doing all the emotional labor and problem solving. Emotional labor is the invisible work of maintaining relationships, remembering important things, managing schedules, addressing problems, planning for the future, caring about the relationship's health. In one-sided relationships, one person does all of this work while the other coasts. If you're the only one remembering birthdays, addressing conflict, thinking about the relationship's future, managing logistics, you're doing all the emotional labor. Notice who remembers and manages everything. You remember birthdays, anniversaries, important dates. They forget without you. You manage the social calendar, family obligations, household logistics. You keep track of everything. They remember nothing and rely on you. Emotional labor is real labor. When only one person does it, they're carrying the entire relationship. Watch who addresses problems. When issues arise, you bring them up, suggest solutions, do the work to resolve them. Your partner ignores problems or waits for you to fix them. You're managing all relationship maintenance. They contribute nothing. There's a recurring problem, you research solutions, bring up the issue, create a plan. Your partner just agrees or disagrees, but does no work. Partners should share the burden of maintaining relationship health. See who thinks about the relationship. You think about where the relationship is going, what needs improvement, how to make it better. Your partner doesn't think about the relationship unless you bring it up. You're doing all the mental and emotional work of partnership. Caring about the relationship requires thinking about it. They don't think about it because they don't care as much. And notice who anticipates needs. You think about what they need and provide it without being asked. They never anticipate your needs. You have to explicitly ask for everything. Consideration flows one direction. You know their love language, their preferences, what makes them happy. They don't know yours because they don't invest mental energy in you. Why are you missing this? You've always been the planner or organizer, so you think it's just your personality. You tell yourself they're just not good at remembering or planning. You don't realize emotional labor is labor that should be shared. But you've normalized doing all the invisible work because acknowledging they don't care enough to share it is devastating. Nina managed everything in her marriage. She remembered her husband's family's birthdays and bought gifts. She scheduled their social life. She noticed when things needed to be addressed in the relationship and brought them up. She researched solutions to their problems. She thought about their future and made plans. Her husband? He showed up. That was it. When Nina asked her husband what he thought about their retirement plans, he said, "Whatever you think is best." When Nina forgot her own birthday, her husband didn't remember either. When Nina was sick and needed support, her husband didn't think to help. She had to ask for every single thing. Nina realized she was managing an adult like a child. She was doing all the thinking, planning, remembering, caring, and her husband was just along for the ride. Nina felt less like a wife and more like an unpaid life manager. So stop doing everything. Let things drop and see if your partner picks them up. Make emotional labor visible. I do all the remembering, planning, problem solving. I need you to share that work. Assign specific responsibilities. Don't manage, let them fully own tasks. Watch if they step up. Do they share the load or wait for you to do it? Don't stay if nothing changes. Emotional labor burnout is real. Don't sacrifice yourself for someone who won't share the work.
If this is hitting home and you're realizing you've been doing all the work, hit that subscribe button. We help you recognize relationship patterns that are damaging your well-being. Now let's talk about the last two signs. Sign 4. Your needs don't matter, but theirs always do. In balanced relationships, both partners' needs are valued and prioritized. In one-sided relationships, one person's needs, preferences, and feelings take priority, while the other person's needs are minimized, ignored, or treated as optional. If your needs are constantly deprioritized while their needs are always met, if you're always compromising while they never do, you're in a one-sided relationship where you don't matter as much as they do. Notice whose needs come first. When there's a conflict between what you need and what they need, theirs wins. They expect you to accommodate them, but they don't accommodate you. The relationship revolves around their comfort, their preferences, their schedule. Healthy relationships involve compromise and taking turns prioritizing. One person always winning is exploitation. Watch who compromises. You give up what you want to make them happy, regularly. When you ask them to compromise, they refuse or make you feel guilty for asking. Compromise flows one direction, always toward what they want. You want Italian, they want Mexican. You go to Mexican because you always accommodate them, but they never accommodate you. Both partners should compromise sometimes. If only one does, the relationship is imbalanced. See how they treat your feelings and needs. When you express needs, they minimize them. That's not a big deal, or you're being too sensitive. Your feelings are treated as less valid or less important than theirs. You're expected to regulate yourself around their emotions, but they don't do the same for you. Dismissing your needs is dismissing your value in the relationship. And notice if you feel guilty for having needs. You've stopped expressing needs because it causes conflict or disappointment. You feel like you're being demanding or needy when you ask for basic things. You've learned to suppress your needs to keep the peace. Feeling guilty for having normal human needs means your partner has trained you to prioritize them over yourself. Why are you missing this? You've been told you're high maintenance for having needs, so you believe it. You tell yourself it's easier to just give in than fight about it. You've prioritized keeping them happy over getting your needs met. But you've internalized that your needs don't matter as much as theirs. Every time Rachel and her boyfriend had a conflict between what she needed and what he needed, his needs won. Rachel wanted to visit her family for Christmas. Her boyfriend wanted to stay home. They stayed home. Rachel needed emotional support after losing her job. Her boyfriend said he was too stressed to deal with it, and Rachel ended up comforting him about his stress. Rachel wanted to save money for a house. Her boyfriend wanted an expensive vacation. They went on the vacation. When Rachel asked her boyfriend to compromise on anything, he'd get angry or make her feel guilty for asking. But Rachel always compromised for him. Rachel stopped expressing needs because it was easier than the conflict. She felt like she was disappearing. Her wants, needs, feelings, all subordinated to his. Rachel finally realized in her relationship, she didn't matter as much as he did. Her needs were optional. His were mandatory. That's not a partnership. That's servitude. So express your needs clearly. Don't suppress them to keep the peace. Notice if your needs ever win. Does your partner ever prioritize you over themselves? Track compromise. Who compromises more? Is it roughly equal? Address the imbalance. My needs matter just as much as yours. I need you to prioritize me sometimes. Leave if you're consistently deprioritized. Don't stay where you don't matter.
Sign 5. You're invested in the relationship. They're just along for the ride. The clearest sign of a one-sided relationship is dramatically different levels of investment. One person is deeply committed, thinking long-term, building a future, fighting for the relationship. The other person is casually participating, taking things day by day, giving minimal effort, not particularly concerned about the relationship's health or future. If you're fighting for the relationship and they're indifferent, If you care deeply and they care minimally, you're in a one-sided relationship. Notice who cares about the relationship's health. You read about relationships, think about how to improve, work on yourself. Your partner doesn't think about the relationship unless something's wrong. You're invested in making it work, they're just existing in it. Investment shows care. Lack of investment shows lack of care. Watch their time orientation. You talk about the future, plans, building a life together, they avoid or deflect. You're thinking about years ahead, they're thinking about today. You're building, they're coasting. You bring up moving in together or long-term plans, they say, let's just see what happens. If they're not thinking long-term, you're not in their long-term plans. See who fights for the relationship. When there are problems, you work to fix them. They're passive or check out. You suggest counseling or solutions, they resist effort. You're willing to fight for the relationship, they're ambivalent about whether it even continues. When only one person is fighting for the relationship is already over. And notice the investment gap. The relationship means everything to you. It's just one part of their life. You're emotionally dependent and invested. They could take it or leave it. The loss would destroy you, they'd move on easily. Dramatically different levels of emotional investment predict failure. Love should be relatively balanced. When it's lopsided, the less invested person has all the power. Why are you missing this? You tell yourself they're just less expressive or less relationship-focused. You hope that if you love them enough, they'll love you back equally. You're afraid to acknowledge they're not as invested because that means facing painful truth. But you can sense the imbalance. You're just afraid to name it. For 3 years, Amy fought for her relationship. She read relationship books, suggested counseling when things were hard, worked on herself to be a better partner. Amy talked about their future, marriage, kids, building a life together. Her boyfriend? He said, maybe someday, and we'll see. When Amy brought up problems, her boyfriend would say, things are fine, and do nothing. Amy realized she was the only one invested in making the relationship work. Her boyfriend was just there, passively accepting what Amy provided, but never fighting for her or for them. Amy finally asked, if I stopped fighting for this relationship, would you fight for it? Her boyfriend thought about it and said, I don't know, I guess I haven't thought about it. That's when Amy knew. She was in love with someone who was just along for the ride. She was building a future with someone who wasn't building it with her. She was fighting for someone who wouldn't fight for her. So assess investment honestly. Are you both equally invested or is it lopsided? Stop fighting alone. Pull back and see if they fight for the relationship. Address the imbalance. I'm fighting for us, are you? Watch their actions. Do they increase investment or remain passive? Leave if they won't invest. You can't build a future with someone who isn't building it with you. If you're recognizing these signs and wondering if your partner isn't just coasting, but actually settling for you rather than genuinely choosing you, watch our video on 5 signs your partner is settling for you, not choosing you. Understanding whether they actually want you or just accepted you will give you clarity. Links in the description. One-sided relationships are exhausting, demoralizing, and soul-crushing. When you're the only one trying, the only one caring, the only one fighting for the relationship, you're not in a partnership. You're in a one-person show with an audience of one. And that audience isn't even paying attention. You deserve a partner who shows up, who tries, who cares, who fights for you the way you fight for them. You deserve mutual effort, mutual care, mutual investment. You deserve balance. If you recognized 3 or more of these signs, your relationship is one-sided. You need to decide, are you going to address this imbalance and demand equal partnership, or are you going to continue exhausting yourself for someone who won't meet you halfway? You can't want the relationship enough for both of you. You can't care enough for both of you. You can't do all the work while they do nothing and expect to be happy.
Something has to change, and it needs to start with honest conversation about the imbalance. If this video helped you see what you've been feeling but couldn't name it, subscribe to this channel. We help you recognize relationship patterns that are damaging your well-being. Drop a comment telling me which sign you recognized, or if you've ever been in a one-sided relationship and what made you finally leave or address it. Your story might help someone else. You are worth equal effort. You are worth someone who initiates, who shows up, who does emotional labor, who values your needs, who invests in the relationship. Don't settle for someone who lets you do all the work while they coast. Don't accept being the only one who cares. Demand reciprocity, demand balance, demand partnership. And if you can't get it, walk away, because one-sided relationships don't get better. They just drain you until there's nothing left.